Hey, come close, let me tell you something. Have you ever looked at someone around you and thought, wow, they're an amazing entrepreneur. They must have been born for this. But what if I told you that's not the case? Yeah. Today, I'm going to teach you how to build success for yourself and fight that limiting belief inside you. If you're ready, let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing episode of the I'm Not Lucky, I'm Blessed podcast, a platform where we help small businesses grow, thrive, and succeed. And as always, I'm your host, Lucky, and I'm here to talk business with you. Today, we're diving into something that might just change the way you see yourself as an entrepreneur. You see, a lot of people think that you have to be born with business skills, but that's a lie. Entrepreneurship is something that you're not born into. It's something you can learn. And if you've ever felt like, I don't know how to run a business, I want you to shift that mindset to thinking, I can learn how to run a business. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about Thomas Edison, how he taught himself everything he literally knew before he died, the limiting self-beliefs we inherit and how they hold us back, and then how to shift from the I don't know how to I can learn how mindset, and then lastly, a weekly challenge to help you take the right action or right belief. So by the end of this episode, you walk away with a new perspective on learning and the belief that you can build something great, because success is learned, it's not inherited. And to start this episode, I will share with you the story of Thomas Edison. This man wasn't a genius in the way people thought. He was just relentless about learning. Like most of us, Edison didn't get a formal education in life. In fact, he was pulled out of school at a very early age because his teachers thought he was too slow to learn. Like, can you imagine Thomas Edison that every one of us know today? But instead of accepting that label, Edison made a decision that he would teach himself everything he needed to know. And he lived by a personal creed that I'm going to share with you guys. So his number one rule was, or for this creed, he was going to read more books than those with a formal education, and then apply knowledge through experiments and practice. He made a promise to himself that he was going to find second-degree mentors, public figures, and books that could teach him. He promised himself that he was going to make learning a lifelong habit and stick with it. He studied science, worked in telegraph offices, experimented constantly, and eventually he became one of the greatest inventors in history. Not because he was born that way, but because he made himself that way. And the beauty about the story of Thomas is that a lot of us can relate with, we didn't go to school, or we didn't, have a college degree. And now because you don't have that, it doesn't mean that you cannot teach yourself to be great or to be something great. But before we go any further, let's talk about those limiting beliefs that we had in the past. Like some of us grew up with limiting beliefs that still shapes how we see ourselves today. For example, most of us grew up in an environment where they said our family doesn't do business. People from our background don't succeed as entrepreneurs. Or my favorite one, you have to be naturally gifted to start a business. I've heard these excuses. I used to say them too, till I realized that those are just labels that others were putting on me. That was not what I wanted. Maybe it was something I heard when I was a kid, and now I just grew up acting that way. But that belief is a lie. The truth is, anything can be learned. Business is a skill, just like riding a bike or learning how to cook or even speaking a new language. If Edison could teach himself science, mechanics without school, like what's stopping you and I from learning how to simply market something, sell something, or manage our own business? Like this guy taught himself how to electricity, things that were very, very complex and difficult, he taught himself all that. Like, I feel like if Thomas Edison was still alive in this generation, he would have done so much more. And personally, that's one of my things that motivate me. Like, those guys in the past, they didn't even have the chances that we have today, AI, all that good stuff, but they made a lot that we're living on. And I just don't want to leave this world without leaving a mark or creating something for the next generation to survive or to use. So I want to share with you guys my own personal story growing up, how this whole business thing was, because it wasn't easy for me. Growing up, I was told it was so funny that we believed that the people from our tribe or like from the state I grew up in, that we couldn't do business. Like literally, like I was told people from my tribe weren't meant for business, that it wasn't in our blood, that it wasn't something, it was literally something for other people. And we believed it. We never did business. And if we did, we assumed it will flop. And then there was this other tribe that we just naturally felt like these guys are good in business. And don't get it wrong, if they were good in business, because we call them that, they did well in business. There was a study I came across that, they took kids and put them in a classroom, and one of them, they called the classroom the clean classroom. And then they called the other classroom the dirty classroom. Just by, labeling those names on them, the students in the classroom started acting the names that they were called. So the clean classroom automatically just loved to keep their classroom clean. And these were kids that, wouldn't, on a regular, they wouldn't clean their classroom, but because they were called clean classroom, they started cleaning their classroom. And the kids that were called dirty classrooms just automatically just accepted it and started becoming dirty. And personally, that's how growing up it was for me. And the funny thing was, I used to be jealous of people that say like they had a childhood where, they had like an entrepreneurship childhood. Like they sold lemonades to make money. They bought candies for 50 cents and sold them in class for like $1. They flipped stuff. They did all that. Like when I hear the stories, I'm like, I used to say, I don't have any of the stories. So like automatically, I cannot be an entrepreneur. You get right? I felt like I needed that experience to become one. Back in Nigeria, that's the mindset that I had. And then until I came to the United States and I got exposed to a few principles about business, that if you do these principles or if you do these things, you don't even need to be a childhood entrepreneur. I mean, that would help you, but that's not really like the motivating factor or driving key you get, right? Because I know some of those people that did those business when they were smaller and now they can't even do businesses. And I know people that didn't do business when they're smaller and now they're doing businesses. I always felt like you were born to be one, but that's a lie. No one in my family ever succeeded in business, but that's not because we couldn't. It was because we never learned how. We didn't fail because we pushed against the grain. We simply failed because we were never equipped with the knowledge and skills and the mindset to run a business or even to become a leader. Like seriously, I don't know what your limiting beliefs are growing up, but I'm here to tell you, you can break that circle. You can start and grow that business. I believe you can do anything you set your mind to, just not everything. So pick your path and commit to learning and go all in. So now the question is, how do you break free from those limiting beliefs? So if you grew up being told that business isn't for you, here's how you can change that. Number one, question that belief. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Did I decide it for myself or did someone else decide it for me and put it in my head? If someone else told you, guess what? You cannot learn it. And I am proof, of that. Growing up, I used to stammer. I still stammer. My parents never let me go on stage to do stuff because they were like, oh, you stammer. So there was this stigma around it. And when I wanted to do this podcast, in fact, the major reason why I did this podcast was because I stammer and I didn't like the fact that I stammer. And I didn't want that to be a label on me. So in order for me to break out of that label, I wanted to do something that was kind of like not the right way to go. So if you're stammering, you should be ashamed of being in camera or on speaking and all that. But I was like, okay, because I stammer, that's why I'm going to start this podcast. I love the podcast. There's so many reasons why I do it. But stammering, just the fact that I wanted to prove myself wrong and prove those that know me and I've always said, you stammer. Don't do it. I decided to prove them wrong by doing this podcast. And so far, this has helped me overcome this challenge of mine. And I'm doing good. If I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't know I stammer. But on a regular conversation, I stammer. But when I'm on the podcast, I hardly show it. So some of these beliefs are not beliefs that we told ourselves. The beliefs that someone else passed on us. Don't be afraid to question those beliefs. Whatever it is that you believe, your relationship with money, business, ask yourself, where's this belief coming from? Who told me this thing? And if you don't agree with it, like I said, you cannot learn it. Next, Find examples of people like you who made it. So if your family says, we don't do business in this family, we're not successful in this family, we're not all about the entrepreneurship life, and you want it, it's simple. Go find someone who came from the same background and built a business anyway. There are people out there who look like you, who came from where you came from, and they're winning. Use that as a proof. I'm a huge fan of learning. And when I came across Thomas Edison's story of how he literally taught himself everything he knew, it was simple. Like, I just made up my mind that if Thomas Edison can do it, I can do it. And what does it take? Learning? Okay, let's learn. And that's the mindset that you need to have. There's so many out there. There's a saying that success leaves clues. So if you follow someone that has done it before, you follow their footsteps, their footprint, whatever they have, even if you don't get exactly what they have, you're going to get something close to. That's literally like a hack. That's why they say have a mentor, talk to people, read stuff, read books about successful people, because success always leaves clues. And whatever clue you learn, you take it and you add it to your own life. The third step is replace that belief with action. So the best way to prove a limiting belief wrong is actually to do the thing you thought you couldn't do. So if you've been told business is not meant for you, go start that business. It doesn't have to be big. Just prove to yourself that you can take that first step. My case, I did this podcast because I started. And as much as I had to prove myself wrong that I am going to do it because of that reason. And truth is that if I can do it, I believe that you can do it. In summary, yes, you were born in an environment that, wasn't business savvy. Everyone, no one talked about business. No one talked about growth. No one talked about money. They didn't teach you how to manage money, finances, and all that. Yeah, you're not going to blame anyone because they didn't have it. But right now, we're in a time where everything now is, click of a finger. You could go online and learn anything, So don't let this opportunity or this time that we have right now go to waste by you just accepting, those labels, those beliefs, and all that has been, put upon you by someone else. Trust me, I started my business from nothing. And was it easy? It wasn't. But one thing I believe is if I can do it, you also can do it. So here's my challenge for you this week. I want you to teach yourself one new business skill. It could be learning about social media marketing, understanding pricing strategies, public speaking, or studying sales technique. Just pick something, study it, and apply it. Then DM me on Instagram at I'm Not Lucky, I'm Blessed podcast, or even leave a comment on this episode and let us know. What did you learn and how did you apply? So guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. But before I go, here are 2 things that I want you guys to always remember. Number 1, you are not born an entrepreneur. You can become one by learning. And number 2, you are not lucky. You are blessed. If you find this episode helpful, share with a friend. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Till we meet again, my friend. Peace.